Anthony Leo Malave, 3 years of age, died May 13th, 2023 after being found unresponsive in a 4-foot pool at the Camp Cohen water park in El Paso, Texas. His mother, her name Jessica Weaver, 35 years of age, has been accused of being negligent, and she's been arrested in regards to the drowning of her 3-year-old son Anthony Leo Malave, and she's been charged with injury to a child by omission. So the article gives us details of several witness reports that saw her behavior on the day in question, May 13th of this year, 2023, at the Camp Cohen Water Park, El Paso, Texas. The overall viewpoint from the multiple witnesses are that the mother was careless and avoided the nature of the incident. One witness said that the mother was on her phone sitting outside of the pool for over an hour. The mother apparently never looked up and never paid attention to anything at all, so we're being told that she ought to have been keeping an eye on her child, 3-year-old Anthony Leo Malave, whilst he was in the pool at the water park, but she was not doing that apparently. In essence, Anthony was left without any supervision. The mother was apparently on her phone, making phone calls, singing along to TikTok videos, that kind of thing, not paying any attention. She was even unaware that lifeguards were attempting to save her own son. We're also told that the 3-year-old wasn't wearing a life vest, which were made freely available. In addition to that, and perhaps this point is irrelevant, but we're told that Anthony was spitting chips into the pool, so he was being somewhat unruly, let's say, as 3-year-old children perhaps can be from time to time, and the mother again failed to intervene. Again, perhaps that's not the most relevant point, but it gives us the impression that the mother was not engaged. The mother was too busy interacting with her phone, not paying due care and attention to her 3-year-old son Anthony. He was left unsupervised, unattended in the water park without a life vest, encouraged to swim on his own, to play on his own in the water, and he subsequently drowned. That's pretty much all the information that we have at this point, and I'm going to give a little bit of a commentary, and this is just a knee-jerk reaction. I'm no expert here. I've not given this a great deal of thought, but I'm going to make a couple of points, and you might agree with me, you might disagree with me, you might even find my take on things to be offensive, and you're more than happy to state as such in the comment section. But my feeling is the mother is not necessarily to blame. My assumption, and I could be wrong, but my assumption is that the El Paso Camp Cohen Water Park is a private entity, meaning it's a business. It's a water park. It's going to have certain regulations that it must abide to, safety regulations. And I would have thought that that would mean multiple lifeguards constantly observing all of the people in the water park at all times. Is it the parents' responsibility to monitor the children at a water park? Hey guys, you might well think, yes, of course, absolutely, and you might well be right, but my feeling is maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, I used to go to normal, boring swimming pools. There'd always be at least one lifeguard there, and they have a separate swimming pool for toddlers, for little children. I don't know if that's the case with the El Paso Camp Cohen Water Park, but I've got to presume that they absolutely must have multiple lifeguards there, and it would be their job to keep an eye on all of the areas at all times so that parents can do their own thing. That would have been my take on it, you know. Perhaps I'm wrong. My guess, my assumption would be that the mother, Jessica Weaver, wasn't intending on putting her child in harm's way. She was likely intending for her son to have a good time at the water park. That would be my assumption, could be wrong. She mistakenly thought that it would be perfectly safe to leave her son unattended, to not be there to give him constant supervision. My assumption is that she felt it was a good thing to encourage her son to play by himself. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong here. Maybe such an approach is clearly reckless and I'm just not recognizing that, but my take on it is this is a water park. They absolutely must have adequate lifeguards there. Every person within that water park is at some level of risk of drowning. Drownings do happen, particularly the children, and there was 466 people at the park on this day in question. I can't imagine that all parents were constantly watching all of the children all of the time. So I think it's fair to say that the mother's actions were certainly very costly. If she had have paid more attention, perhaps she could have acted faster, provided her son with more safety, but at the same time I don't think she should bear sole responsibility, given that this was a private entity that ought to have had multiple lifeguards, sufficient number of lifeguards and safety processes and procedures in place. Having said that, Anthony wasn't given a life vest. The life vests were made freely available. That seems like a failing. That seems like an aspect of negligence. So I don't know what my feelings are. I think my take on it is that Jessica Weaver, 35 years of age, likely meant no harm to come to her child at all. I'm sure she's absolutely devastated by this tragedy. She's lost her son. I'm assuming that she would have assumed that her son would have been safe in the water park, given that there would be an abundance of lifeguards, but her assumption was wrong. I think it's absolutely appropriate that an investigation does take place, but I think the spotlight should be placed on more than just the mother concerned, particularly the owners, the managers of the water park, and I guess if we're going to be really pedantic, couldn't we say other people within the park? Couldn't any of the other 466 people that were at the park at the day kept an eye on this 3-year-old boy? I'm going to mention that on the internet, I have seen videos of children drowning in swimming pools. There's one video that I've seen, and I think it's in China, but there's a young boy, I don't know the age, I mean, I'll say 6 or 7 or something like that, and he's in the swimming pool, right by the edge of the swimming pool. There's plenty of other people swimming past, others that are about to get in of the pool, they get out of the pool, and they're within literally 1 foot, 2 foot of this struggling boy. He struggles for ages. In addition to that, the video was recorded, I presume, by somebody. Perhaps it was from installed CCTV footage, but you see this boy drowning, which is of course shocking, but it's arguably even more shocking to see multiple people, adults and children, aware that there's a boy in severe trouble and failing to act, failing to help. So I've seen that video in the context of criticizing China. Oh, look at China, don't they do bad things? But I've got to say that this seems to be a fairly similar situation. This happened in Texas, United States. There would have been parents and other children that would have seen Anthony Leo Malave struggling, but we're not told of anyone intervening. So with that, again, of course, there absolutely must be an investigation. I think it's perhaps right that the spotlight is at least partially put upon the mother, but it needs to also be put upon the owners, the managers of the water park, and potentially even others that were in the same pool at the same time. But that's all we have. So I'm going to say full condolences to all concerned, everyone touched by this tragedy, including the mother, Jessica Weaver. My assumption, and again, I could be wrong, is that she meant no ill will. She meant no harm to come to her child. Even if we can say she was negligent, it was an act of stupidity, perhaps born out of an addiction to social media or whatever it happens to be. She was there playing with her phone, singing along. She was oblivious, and that seems kind of reasonable to me to some extent. I'm not a parent, and when you're with your child, you need to pay attention. I get that. At the same time, I'm going to say, from my point of view, you could be wrong, you could massively disagree, you can be offended by what I'm about to say, but I feel that a parent does require some level of leisure time to themselves, and I would think that the mother felt that she could take that leisure time, given that there would have been lifeguards and staff to be available to intervene should Anthony struggle in any capacity. But there we go. So it's an absolute tragedy. I'm going to wrap things up at this point. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. If you agree with me, perhaps drop a note in the comment section to let me know that I'm not a complete idiot. If you disagree with me, feel free to drop a note too. I won't be deleting you unless it's, ridiculously offensive or disrespectful or such, but I welcome disagreement generally. I'll wrap things up. Thank you for listening. Take care.